British Foreign Secretary David Miliband said the UK was making no assumptions about the Lisbon Treaty, but expected it to come into force in 2009.
It's any time from the 1st of January, and so we've got to be ready, but it rather depends on how other nations proceed with their ratification. Obviously, our own ratification is going very well after the extensive scrutiny that was provided by your good selves and by the floor of the House. Many other countries have looked with some mixture of alarm and admiration at the degree of debate and consultation that we've had on it. Certainly those who've managed to pass it in a matter of hours have looked with a mixture of alarm and admiration at the number of days. But I think that we're going to be ready, and we look forward to others being so as well.
He was asked whether the debate had been good for Britain and for Europe.
I think it's helped in one way to scotch some of the myths that are associated with the Lisbon Treaty. However, it's also fair to say that the quite abstruse nature of significant parts of the treaty are not the immediate talk of kitchen tables around Europe. So in that sense, I think that there's a major job to be done after the ratification to show that Europe is actually addressing the big issues that people care about. And as you know, we've made the argument for a long time that the institutional focus of European debate has been to the detriment of popular understanding of the role of the European Union in the modern world and its role in helping build security and prosperity here in Britain. And it's certainly very much the position of the government that we want to use the period after ratification to engage in the big issues that confront the European Union. And as I think I've said to this committee before, I think for the first 30 or 40 years of the life of the European Union, the big threats to security and prosperity came from within its borders. And that's why there was a focus on markets, on social standards, even on environmental standards within the borders of the European Union. But I think if one looks forward, the new dynamic is threats to security and prosperity that come from beyond the borders, and hence the increased importance of security and defence policy, climate change policy, migration policy, energy policy. And I think there's real scope to develop a powerful vision of the role of the European Union as a complement to the role of nation states in the modern world, sitting in between the nation state and the UN, providing the sort of advanced regional cooperation that I think many other parts of the world will look to in the years ahead.
He was also questioned about Turkey's entrance into Europe and Britain's support for the move.
I think there are 2 or 3 things that countries like Britain have got to do, and your committee can play an important role in this. One is to continue to say to the Turks that we are absolutely clear that it's massively in the interest of the European Union for them to be part of the European Union. Secondly, that there are responsibilities on Turkey as well as on the EU, and there are big debates happening in Turkey at the moment about internal reform. There are very worrying signs about party closures that I think are contrary to European spirit, really, and the European way of doing things. So secondly, there are responsibilities on Turkey, on all players in Turkey, not just the government, but also the other players. Thirdly, I think that there is a big job to join for people-to-people contact in this. The biggest, there are 1 million Brits go on holiday in Turkey every year. There's big business connections. I think that for the French, in the French case, more contact and partnership between French and Turkish business, French and Turkish people, I think that's a big thing. But we've also got to make the argument in Europe with like-minded countries that Turkey is a massive asset for the West, and the West is a potentially massive asset for Turkey as well. And for a 95% Muslim country to join the EU, I think is not a threat to the EU. I think it's a boon to the EU. And I think that the stability that could come and the links that could come, whether you're looking at energy or migration or a whole range of issues, the potential that for Turkey to be a ballast for the EU, I think is very, very powerful indeed.
Britain's Foreign Secretary believes Turkey's entry into Europe can only be a good thing.